Let's go to Daniel in Cincinnati. What's up, Daniel?
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Outstanding, my brother. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. A little nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's all good, man. What's up?
Oh, well, I just want to apologize in advance. When I get nervous or anxious, I stumble over my words, and sometimes my train of thought deviates. So
Hey,
if I stumble, I apologize in advance.
have you ever listened to this show?
I have, and it makes me feel a little better, but
Good,
that doesn't
'cause I
help
stumble
me all
over
the time when
everything.
it's me on the show.
I stumble over everything. Not because I'm anxious. I just can't speak properly. But hey, thank you for being brave and calling in anyway, even though this is a terrifying proposition for you. I'm grateful for you. So what's up, man?
Okay, well, a little bit of life has happened since I made the email to your booth crew. The original question was how I can handle anxiety around, whenever I see news or things happening in the world, or just, kind of referencing what you've struggled with when you just think, like, what's going to happen when it all falls apart, when it all hits the fan?
Okay.
How am I going to provide for my family? How am I going to provide for work? What if I lose work? And
the nerd word for that is catastrophizing.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So, that was your original. That was originally why you called in.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm in the time in between. I'm wondering if it is just possibly a symptom of like a bigger anxiety or just something more, because I get hit with that catastrophizing at different times, and then it just throws me for days.
Yes.
Or sometimes a day, but I kind of have to bury my head, and I'll have to listen to audiobooks or podcasts, or I kind of have to I don't know if I'm making myself forget it or I just wind myself down from the initial buildup.
So can I use your situation as a teaching moment for everybody listening? Because I think it can be a great gift to folks.
Yes, by all means.
I'm going to walk through with you a series of questions. I think your impulse is absolutely correct. Okay. Barring some sort of brain lesions and things, which are super, super, super rare, I think your impulse is very correct. So I'm going to go through a series of questions that I normally ask folks who are struggling with anxiety. These are the questions I ask myself. Okay.
Okay.
None of these questions are judgment questions. Okay. So the only way to get to some truth is you just to say it as quick as you can and as honest as you can. Cool. Same team.
Yep.
All right. So overall weight and health, how are we doing? Good. You exercise regularly. You sleep okay. You're not super overweight.
No, not overweight. I'm pretty active in my job. I do construction, carpentry.
Okay. Excellent.
Sleeping's as good as I can do. I've got some younger kids that wake up from time to time, but I'd say overall sleep well. Yeah.
All right. How much money do you owe other people? How much debt do you carry?
20.
Like if you just
20 grand or so.
Okay, that's credit cards. How about your house?
It's just house and a little bit of personal loan to a family member.
How much on your house?
Around 20, or just low 20s, around 20.
So you'll have your house paid off with 20 grand?
Yes.
Wow.
We are running towards that as fast as we are able.
All right, in-laws. Do they run your life, or are you pretty connected?
Oh, very connected.
Okay.
Very connected. Close.
What about your folks?
Same. Very connected. Very close. Would not be where I am in life without either set of in-laws or parents.
Excellent. Friends. Do you have a group of guys that you do life with, you hang out with outside of work?
Working towards that. That's been something I've been trying to change over the past month or so.
You got
Yes, I started meeting with two older gentlemen from church that I respect, and then I have a couple of friends that we get together whenever we can.
So no. In your dream world, Yes, but in reality, no. I've got some guys that I work with on job sites, and then I come home to a wife and some young kids.
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. What about things? The nerd word here is anxiogenic. So tell me about how much coffee, Red Bull, how much caffeine do you take?
I'll have a couple of tumblers through the morning or the working day, and
Okay.
then past that, just tea and water in the evenings.
Okay. All right. Tell me about your marriage. How y'all doing?
Good highs and lows, but overall,
So not great. So tell me about it.
I would lean toward great. We're trying to work through raising kids. We had an idea of how we would parent, but that's the newlywed idea of it. But other than that, I think that's the biggest stressor is just learning how to raise kids and live life.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
3 with a planned one in this fall.
Okay. And what are their ages?
5, 3, and almost 2.
Oh, good grief. Okay. Next time you talk to somebody about anxiety, lead with that. Okay. That you have 3 wild animals that live inside your house. Okay. Tell me about childhood trauma. Any stuff lingering? Any things that were tough growing up?
Before listening to your show, I would have said no trauma,
Okay.
but I'm starting to wonder if I need to learning to redefine that word. Growing up, I mean, things were great. Money was tight at times, but my parents were very diligent and gave us a great life growing up. My parents came to faith when I was young, and so my early years were I have memories of them kind of working out how to live life and how to do that in a faith base. We started going to church, and I think there was some kind of the pendulum swinging of learning through that. There may be a little bit there, but again, I'm just kind of starting to look at that through the lens of what could that have.
Are you This is going to sound like a loaded question, and just be honest with me, okay? Are you someone who has almost a supernatural ability to compartmentalize things that disappoint you or hurt your feelings or hurt you in order of making sure everybody else keeps their reputation and everything looks good?
Maybe.
Try again.
I'm not sure. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. Some people, not a ton of them, but some people had incredibly smooth lives. Just had no bricks in the backpack, man. And some of them then moved up to be adults and they ended up with a pretty great life. And they have a pretty great marriage, and they got the chaos of 3 young kids, and that's life. But they kept plugging along. Then they paid their house off while they were still really young, so they didn't even have that stress anymore. That happened. More common, and again, I don't want to create problems where they don't exist, okay? So this could be you, and that is, man, I'm high-fiving you. And there's an intense pressure on millions and millions of people to be peacekeepers and image bearers. And there is a it feels like a deep betrayal to talk bad about somebody or to tell the truth about a situation or to be honest about just how hard or negative or how much you're struggling with something. And as the great Bessel van der Kolk says, your body's keeping the score. And so it could be, we just adjusted with the pendulum as we were kids. And it could have been screaming, knockdown, drag out fights or things that we used to do. All of a sudden we couldn't. And parents looked at you and said, do you want to burn in hell forever? Right. So there's one way of telling that story. And then there's another way of telling that story. And it may have just been, nah, man, my parents decided to start going to church and they decided that they were going to start living this way. And there was a natural clunkiness to figuring out how that works, but that's normal. I don't want to put stories in your head that don't work. your language sounds very careful to me.
Yes.
Okay. And sometimes very, very careful language, very calculated language is a way of speaking that somebody has had to adapt and develop to keep themselves safe. And
I would agree with that.
if that's you, that's anxiety. That is a body underneath that, like, there will not be any ripples in this water. And that is a body underneath that water struggling for air. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can go back over those things I just talked through and say, okay, where am I struggling to say, I'm really mad, or I'm really scared, real scared, or this isn't what I had in mind, or I miss my wife, or quite honestly, my parents provided for us and they were tough to be around. They weren't abusive. I don't want to use that word. They were just really hard to be around, and I don't feel safe going to them for stuff. And I'm pretty lonely. See what I'm saying? There's
Mhm.
the first step in healing from an anxious life is owning reality, choosing reality. This is the truth about my life. Okay. And so we don't have to do that on this call, but I think that's an important place to start. My friend Will Guidara, he's a restaurateur, one of the best on the planet in New York. I love what he tells his wait staff. He says, you can only fill other people's pitcher when yours is full. Okay. And so what he's telling his staff is, you guys got to go do the hard work of filling your pitcher up so that you can show up for these customers who come to our restaurant. I want to take that analogy and completely reverse it for anxiety. If you have an anxious life, if you've got a bunch of stuff going on or a bunch of unspoken things that you haven't fully connected, your body's going to be at capacity. That pitcher is going to be completely full. And then you throw on top of it, we're going to war with China, we're going to war with Russia, World War III is happening, we're going to have food and climate shortages, we're going to have all stuff. Your body doesn't have anywhere else for that stuff to go. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then you have to get into a cycle of avoidance. I'm just going to not watch this stuff until the water stops trickling into your already overfilled pitcher. And so the question I want to ask you is, where do you have what you're describing to me as someone who's created a very anxious life, that then when what I call normal stressors, there will always be wars and rumors of wars. When those things show up, they become overwhelming. They override the system. So going back and choosing reality, where is a place that you've filled this sucker up?
Probably a lot of places, because as you've been as you've been laying it out, it's just things just keep coming to mind. That's
Okay.
like, oh,
All right.
I mean, like, I do. I've
Just say it. Just say it. Just say it. Just say it. Just
I've
say
tried
it.
to tell it to my wife, like, I bottle things up,
Yes.
and then it either has to come out or it boils over. But I just find it really hard to open up and talk to people about anything. And then, like you said, I'm being careful with my words to keep everything happy and hunky dory, and that makes it difficult to have hard conversations.
And it also
Both with-
it also makes it very hard to be married to. And it makes it very hard. And I'm not shaming you. I want you to see the dance that happens when somebody walks up and feels like they're talking to somebody's Twitter account. It's hard to plug into that with true connection. And when somebody's married to somebody who is just basically a screensaver with how wonderful things are, they feel crazy because things aren't wonderful. And then they withdraw a little bit. And then the person behind the screensaver's body is screaming, whoa, 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 connect, 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 connect. But it can't get through the screensaver. And you see how it just creates a dance. And then that person gets a little bit closer. Then that other person pulls further away. And now we're in a kind of a mess. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so here's the beautiful thing that you're dealing with is there's not any wild, overt madness. The challenging part for you is I was making a salary that my granddad couldn't have wrapped his head around, and so was my wife. And we were married, and we were paying off 6 figures of debt, and we had a 2-year-old little boy after years of infertility, and I went mad. I went mad with work expectations. I went mad with dreams of what things were gonna be like one day. I went mad with I was sharing a bed with somebody that I know loved me, but I was incredibly alone. I was paying off all this debt, but my body kept asking for what? What are we doing? Like what? Okay, so we pay off our house, then what? Right? You see what I'm saying? And it just the alarms, the anxiety alarms kept getting louder and louder and louder and louder. And my dad was a cop and a minister. You talk about good at wallpaper language. I was one of the best. You hear what I'm? You hear? You hear it?
Hmm.
So
I do.
here's what I want to do. A couple of things, and it's going to sound like a weird twist. I'm going to send you all of the ones I have, all of the couples ones, the dating ones, and the kid ones. The questions for humans.
Oh man, thank you. You don't have to
Okay.
do that. Thank you.
Well, it's just, I love you, and I'm grateful for your bravery. I want you to start using these cards to have no just no expectation conversations with people that you love. I'm gonna send you the guys' nights out, and you can just have some buddies over, and y'all can do whatever. Watch the game, watch football, watch fights, whatever it is y'all do. I don't know. You can go build cabinets, or I don't know. You sound like a guy who knows how to do stuff. Um, or y'all can just sit around, have chips and queso, and I don't know, play Texas Hold'em and use these cards. But I want you to start practicing human connection. Okay. Then I want you to take a piece of paper, and I want you to write down things that you do not feel, places where you do not feel safe, and be honest. And then be very clear about what I can control and what I cannot control. You cannot control whether China sends missiles to Russia and escalates this thing into World War III. You can't. You can't control whether China invades Taiwan. You can't. You can't control whether Biden does whatever, and then whoever gets elected after him does whatever. You can't control any of those things. And there's something powerful about letting your brain know, yeah, these are happening and we can't do anything about it. And literally, after a season of practice, your brain will begin to create a gap between, oh, we got to do something, and, oh, that's not our problem to solve because we can't. And then it won't sound the alarm so much anymore. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. So does the peace? I guess that's kind of one of the reasons I was calling, was just how do I find peace and not the stress of it. Just does the time of after those alarms quiet, does this the peace of knowing like, oh, I can't control it,
Yes.
and the outcome may not be great, but I can't control it. Is that where the beginning of the peace comes from?
The beginning of the peace is this: when your body starts to feel anxious, you ask yourself, body, what are you trying to protect me from? Oh, Russia? We can't do anything about that one. And then you let that, like, literally feel it run through your body. Can't do anything about it. And so, continuing just to scroll on the news sites telling me how it's all coming down, we're all going to die, and blah, blah. I can't. I'm just going to turn that off because that's not helpful. That's just gearing me up and gearing me up and gearing me up and gearing me up. Now, if an invasion happens, I'm going to stay glued to the radio because I want to know where the bombs are falling. That's not our world right now. Once I know that inflation's high and I go to the grocery store, I can see those prices. They're expensive. I'm done with the inflation conversation because the only thing I can control is my budget, how much money I'm bringing into my house, and the choices me and my wife make about what we buy and don't buy. That's what I can control. Not how much bacon is, not how much cereal is or whatever. See what I'm saying? So the peace comes from disconnecting from, I've got to be in charge and control everything. And instead, it's about, I've got to get connected. I've got to take care of my body. I've got to be very intentional about where I'm not safe. And I've got to focus on the things I can control versus the things I can't control. And I want you to be really, really graceful with Daniel because Daniel's a good guy. He's a great husband. He's a good dad. He's a great provider. He's doing good things for his community. and he's learning to live in a new body, a body that's a father of 3 going on 4, a body who's married to a woman who he loves desperately, and they've never been married with 3 kids, almost 4 before. It's all new. We're all learning. We're going to be really graceful with our bodies. I'm also going to send you a copy of Own Your Past, Change Your Future. I want you to go through that book and check out some of the stories you may be hanging on to that you've learned over the years to talk really eloquently about, but that may be spinning your body up. And I'm going to send you a copy of Redefining Anxiety. Just a quick read to read through it. And just know this. I'm really grateful for your call. You're looking at a guy who's been there, and on the other side of it, there is peace. There's peace. Start practicing and start building a non-anxious life.